Welcome back to another episode of the Be Fierce Multisport podcast. This is episode 3. I'm your host, Jill Bartholomew, and I'm with Troy Theodosiou. And today we have a special guest, Audra Tassone, and we're going to be talking about Ironman Foundation.
Absolutely. Audra, it's wonderful to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, well, to get this party started, Jill, I'm actually going to start off with you because I would like to know, and I'm sure our listeners do too, what was your inspiration behind becoming an Ironman Foundation ambassador?
Audra, you and I met up in Lake Placid, last year. And it was after the race, but we had kind of conversed a little bit before, and we hung out at the foundation tent for a little while, and it's a cool crew. They did so much great work up there. I think you guys, how many bikes were built for the Lake Placid community at that event?
We built 50 bikes for the kids. Yeah.
All right. For some reason, I had in my head like 10,000 or something, but
that's a goal, though. I mean, that's a great goal.
I'm just kidding. I'm not sure there's 10,000 people that live in Lake Placid.
I think we could find it.
But anyways, so it's a great crew. And then, I went out to, when I raced Nice, Audra, you and I spent a lot of time together. And that's when I learned about the foundation program, or the ambassador program with foundation. And, these races are expensive and they're big commitments. And, I race a lot. I really enjoy it. And not every race is an A race, but, that was kind of when we started talking about like, hey, Jill, you race a lot. Maybe it makes sense for you to join the foundation ambassador program. And that's what we did. And it turns out that, for overall cost wise, probably costs about the same, by the time you kind of think it through. But the money now goes to that you spend on race registrations now goes to such a great cause, right? I don't know all the ins and outs of where that goes, but I understand that it all benefits the local community, which I think is probably the best possible use of that money.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Audra, on that note, let's, as most of you know, and for those that don't, Ironman Foundation is primarily about community building and giving back. Mm-hmm. So, Audra, let's touch on that. Let's talk about Ironman Foundation's mission, initiatives, and impact on local communities.
Sure. No, absolutely. So our mission, the Ironman Foundation, creates positive, tangible change in the race communities through grant funding and volunteerism. So year to date, the Ironman Foundation has given back over $60 million to over 10,000 nonprofit organizations. So we have a couple of different pillars. Our first pillar in our foremost is the volunteerism grants in our race communities. So what we do is we support all the volunteers in those race communities. And as you know, without volunteers, we wouldn't be able to have events. So each volunteer director for each race will get a budget of what they can spend on giving back grants to the volunteer groups. So that's our first pillar. The second pillar is helping youth in sports. So we give back swim lessons. Year to date, we've given back over 3,000 swim lessons to underprivileged children, and also giving back bikes and getting kids involved in running events. So like our kids events. So with the bikes, we've given back over 2,000 bikes. Just recently, I was in South Africa for Cape Epic, which amazing event. And
I was very jealous. I was watching all the social media posts that between you and Ironman were putting up, and I was like, dang, that sounds like fun. I do not own a mountain bike, but I would go just for what you guys were posting. It looks so cool.
I think you should race. I need another woman to race, Jill. We can have that conversation because you would
We can
absolutely.
talk about that, but yeah, I'm lacking a critical piece of equipment.
That's okay. So there's a bunch of people who don't have mountain bikes, but they just started purchasing them. So, and I can hook you up with somebody who can teach you how to mountain bike. But anyway, with that being said, so we were in South Africa, so we ended up giving back close to 100 bikes and helmets to the kids, and those bikes are going to be housed at a school where the kids will be able to use them daily. So I committed to that team for the next 2 years, so a total of 3 years. We're going to be giving back bikes to support the efforts that they do in South Africa. So it was an amazing experience.
Well done, Audra. I'm not biased, but that's epic. I excuse the pun, but well
Yeah.
done.
Oh, incredible. It was such an incredible experience. So yeah. So that's what we do. Like my mission is to bring in as much as we can so we can give back as much as we can. So I feel really honored to be on this side of the business. Prior to being with the foundation, I was on the operating side of the business. So I know Ironman really well. And I've been with Ironman for over 15 years.
Wow,
That
that's
that
awesome.
is a long time. How much of that were you with Foundation?
So this is going into my 4th year with the foundation.
And why do you stay with the Foundation?
I love being able to give back and to see all the different charities we support and just watching, racing for more, watching people cross the finish line, excuse me, who's never raced before, but they're racing for the foundation. So they're helping us give back and just seeing how emotional when they cross that finish line and also, I mean, one of the greatest feelings is being able to give like a bike back to a child who's never had a bike
Mhm.
before and teaching them how to ride. I mean, that just like I say that and just I start to get like goosebumps. It's just really nice to be on this side of the business. Don't get me wrong, I love the operating side of the business and I kind of straddle it a bit, but it's really special being able to give back.
So when are we going to see you racing?
An Ironman? No.
Mhm.
No. Too much triathlon for me. You'll see me, my goal, I want to race Boston next year, so you'll definitely see me do a running race, but triathlon not in the near future.
Well, Audra, speaking about exciting initiatives, I believe something launched this morning. Do you want to share with our listeners
Sure.
what you have going on at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just opened up our auction. So we're auctioning off 3 slots, one to the World Championship in Kona, one in the World Championship in Nice, and the other one, 70.3 World Championship in Spain. So, please, if you're interested in going to any of those events, please, jump on our website, ironmanfoundation.org, make a, bid. It's tax deductible, and you're also helping a great cause.
Awesome. Hey, Audra, rumor has it that if you put on an Ironman Foundation suit, you actually go faster. Is that true?
Yeah, it
And
is very
that
true.
I think wasn't that true in the past when they were Santini and they all just
Oops.
like fit too tightly?
I don't know,
Now that
but
there's Zoot, is that still true?
I tell you what, when I put on my first Ironman Foundation suit that Audra sent me, I tell you what, it felt like I had a rocket strapped to my back. It was phenomenal.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
I,
The,
I don't
yeah.
I don't know the Santini suit last year when I got the first one. I was like, oh my god, I needed to size up like 2 sizes. They were so small.
It only
Well,
makes you
this
go
year,
faster.
exactly. And this year it's Zoot. So
Yeah,
There
we
you
the
get
go.
Zoot
to,
one fits a lot nicer.
There you
yeah.
go.
Yep. That's what I've been told.
Well, this is really exciting because for those of you who don't know, Jill is busy prepping for Ironman Texas, which is T minus 12 days. Jill?
Oh God, you had to throw that number out there.
I was going to give you the hours, but I thought I would be kind and just go with T minus 12
Oh,
days.
you were gonna throw the hours out there. Yeah, it's 12 days away. By the time this gets published, it'll be like 10 days.
There you go.
And I'm freaking out a little bit. Originally, this was planned to be an A race for me. It's no longer an A race. I think I talked about that at some point. I had some injuries back in the fall that didn't kind of still working on healing part of it. And then I got the flu, which took me out for like, I think 5 weeks. Like it was crazy. But I'm going to do it. Like, I've been riding the Texas route on full gas over the last month or so. I've done it a few times. And I'm looking forward to it, although it looks like the highway is like grooved. Is that right?
The toll, yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's going to be so loud. Like the grooved highway on the tires. And like, I can already imagine the hum. But now I'm looking forward to it. I was just a couple hours ago talking to someone else who's going to Texas, and like the heat is the thing that has me the most kind of nervous. Aside from like my physical readiness, it's rare that I go into a race being like, yeah, not really physically where I want to be, blah blah. But I took the time off after I got injured and spent the time like healing. As a result, I'm starting the season not quite as fit as I'm used to, right? The winter is usually like hardcore on the trainer, and this year it was more in the pool. So my swim times I think have improved, but my
There you
bike
go.
and run times have come back. But
When life
no,
throws you lemons, you got to make some lemonade.
right. And
Exactly.
along those lines, we talked in our last episode about springtime surprise, and it was so hot out there. But I kind of view that as a good thing,
Absolutely.
because for me personally, it's like a little bit of heat acclimation before
Yeah.
we get out there. It's going to be hot. It's going to be a hot one.
Yeah. The
But
Woodlands is beautiful, so I think
right,
it's going to be, depending on the weather. I mean, the conditions could be
yeah,
could go either way, but I think you getting in some heat acclimation in Orlando, Florida, was to your benefit.
yeah. I mean, it certainly can't hurt. But I'm keeping my fingers and toes crossed that we have light winds that day and not headwinds.
Sure.
I was looking at the for my age group, right? I was looking at the finish times for the last 5 years, and for the for the top 5 in my age group. And it's so funny because like you'll see like 10 something, and then the next year will be like almost 13, and the difference is the wind.
Yeah. I was there last year, and the conditions were brutal. But it's
Right, but the year
2025.
before they were setting records.
Exactly. So
Exactly.
it's a mixed bag. Audra, are you going to be in Texas?
It looks like I am going to be in Texas now for a couple of days. So Jill and I were actually talking about that earlier. So the last time I was at Ironman Texas was the first year it came on the calendar. So it's been a long time for me. So I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
getting back there.
Well,
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to seeing you again in person. 'Cause I don't think
Yeah.
we've seen each other. I mean, we've seen like the poorly lit digital image of each other a few
Yeah.
times, but I don't think that we've like physically sat down and had a coffee since Nice, right?
That's
Right.
true. Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's
But I'm looking
definitely,
forward. I'm looking forward to Texas. I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of new people. It's most of the races I typically do are on the East Coast,
hmm
and this is intentionally not on the East Coast. Like I started this year out like, yeah, I'm gonna do all these races on the West Coast, and we got Texas, and that's it. Everything else is like the normal East Coast stuff. As I was thinking about doing Oceanside, but like the timing of it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be in the TriDot booth as a coach. I'll be in the expert coach booth. I think 2
Oh,
shifts. So like
fantastic.
8 or 10 hours total. So I'm looking forward to that. So to our listeners, if you're out there in Texas, find me. I'll be in the Tryout booth a few times, go visit them. And you guys have a booth, I assume, right?
Not for Texas. We're going to have a booth we had one in Oceanside, and we're going to have one in Chattanooga at 70.3 Chattanooga, but not in Texas.
All right.
I
Well,
think
as an ambassador, though, like they can come talk to me about it, right?
there
They
you
can
go.
definitely talk to you about it. We
For,
encourage
for
that.
yeah, for those of you who don't know Jill, she struggles to sit still. And if you listen to our first episode
What?
in Lake Placid, Jill is pretty much non-stop through race day. She does not stop. I think I saw her about 400 times before race day in Lake Placid. So you will see Jill Bartholomew, and it
I
sounds like
don't know.
you'll see Audra too.
I don't know what you're talking about, Troy. I mean, just because in Lake Placid, I rode the course 3 times and ran around
Okay.
the lake every morning. And
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, that doesn't include the practice swims. And then that doesn't, how many hill descents did you do, Jill, before race day?
I think it was like 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Need I say any more?
We became very good friends with Mount Van Hoevenberg. And like prior to this race, the last time I spent that much time at Mount Van Hoevenberg was in like 1986 when we went cross country skiing there during the Olympics.
There you go. She was
wow.
reconnecting with her roots.
Right. There was decidedly less snow though in July.
Sure. Well, let's talk about foundation at Texas, at Ironman Texas. Audra, do you have quite a strong contingent that's going to be there racing?
Yeah, I believe we have, and Jill, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we have 6 athletes that are racing Ironman Texas. I think it's 6.
Sounds about right.
Yes.
But I am not the lead for Texas.
You're not the lead for Texas? Why did I think you were the lead?
No, I'm not the lead for Texas. I am the lead for Lake Placid and for 70.3 Florida in Haines City in December, which right now we don't have a lot of athletes signed up for Florida 70.3. It's a great way to end the year. And
Yes.
the medal there is kind of cool. It's a little, you take the lanyard off and it's a Christmas ornament.
Yeah.
So like come race Haines City, get your Christmas ornament.
I love that.
I have fond memories. The marketing team put together a relay, Team Iron Heat. We had a lot of fun. It was a great way to conclude the year. So always a lot of fun at the end of the year, and then you can go and head over to Disney, Jill's second home.
Hey, so it's become tradition for John and I. We do Ironman. We do the 70.3 there, and it's like really close to Disney, and we're annual pass holders there. So we pack up the bike, pack up the stuff, throw it in the back of the rental car, put a blanket over it, and John's colorblind, so when I asked him to buy a black blanket, he came out with a tie-dye blanket.
That's great.
I'm like, John, the point is to like be subtle, so it's not obvious what's
Stealth.
under there. Yeah. And then we drive to Epcot and have dinner, get some pictures in front of the ball and then have dinner. It's become our tradition to have dinner at Rose and Crown there in Epcot. So it's kind of a fun way to end a race weekend, right?
Yeah, I like the sound of that. It's a great way to end the year.
And then we hop in the car and drive back to Philadelphia, which is 18 hours.
Brutal. Well, just on that note, I know that Ironman Texas is sold out, but I do believe, Audra, that there are still foundation slots available for anybody wanting to jump in and join Jill. There are still foundation slots available.
That's absolutely right. And that's for all our events. You can always race through Ironman Foundation, which we would love for you guys to come race with us. And there's a lot of amazing benefits that come along with that. And can I just get into that, Troy? Is that okay?
I was going to ask, but you're already well on your way. So tell us. I was going to ask what's involved. What do you get? But take it away, Audra.
So what you get for racing with the Ironman Foundation is you get a low bib number, which means you get to rack near the pros. somebody from our team, my team, will be on site. We also have a dedicated mechanic to about 7 of the events this year. So we call them the signature events. We have a separate swim corral for our Team IMF athletes. We'll also do like a private meet and greet with the race director, and then we'll give you a tour of like where swim start is, swim finish, so you're really familiar with the whole race venue setup. We'll do a breakfast or a happy hour just depending on the race, and then after the event we will have a tent. We actually have a tent inside transition or right outside of transition where we'll take your bike and everything and we'll house it there, and your morning clothes bags and your gear bags. So all you have to do is come to our tent, the Ironman Foundation, and get all your stuff there. And then we'll have our bike mechanic there too. One of the new things that we're doing this year is we're doing something called Inspiration Station. And I took this back from when Ford used to be a sponsor. And you can come to the Ironman booth when we are on site, and you can do an inspirational sign for a small donation. And then we, as the team, will put that out on the run course. So when your athlete is running by, they'll see like a sign from their loved one, and that's been a lot of fun. It was really successful at 70.3 Texas this past year, so I'm looking forward to continuing that on. And then the other thing is, if we do host a breakfast at our Team IMF tent, we bring in one of our volunteer groups who has been with the foundation and volunteered for multiple years, and they just talk about their experience. So we just kicked that off this year at for Ironman Texas, and for 70.3 Texas, and it was fantastic.
I love the sign thing. Like I love it. I run a lot. I'm not the fastest runner, but I'm not like the slowest either. And I love the signs out on the course. Just don't put out the ones that are like, get your money's worth and stuff like that.
Exactly.
At the halfway point, you've earned 50% of your entry fee.
Right, exactly. Or the ones that, like, I know when I used to race, would be like, oh, the finish line is close by, and it's not even anywhere near. Like, you're not, and it's just like that I'm like, no.
Yeah, a couple years ago at the Philadelphia Marathon, there was this woman out on the course, and I saw her like 6 times, and her sign was like, "You're almost there. The finish line's around the corner." And the first time I saw her is at mile 2.
Yeah.
Out of 26.2. I was like, no, honey, it's not even close.
Right.
So back to who's the ambassador for Ironman Texas. It is Christine Valdez.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. She's been an ambassador with us for, longer than I've been there. So I'm going to say at least 6 years she's been an ambassador. So she's great.
Yeah, I know this because Andrea just sent out the other day the updated toolkit with everyone's name in it.
Okay, perfect. Good.
I'm like, I know I have that. I have that somewhere. So while you're talking, I'm over here like where is it? Where is it?
I love it. Can I just sidebar for a second? If that's okay. Jill, do you want to tell like your and Troy's listeners how our experience in Nice, what happened at the finish line?
I think we've been over this so many times, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean well, so I think on episode 1 we talked about it, right? It's like at Ironman Nice, John proposed to me at the finish line, which was, I'd like to say magical, but it wasn't Disney, but it was pretty cool anyways. And there I was, approaching the finish line, and we had a couple, like 1 or 2K left, and I'm like, John's gonna, I have a feeling John's gonna do this. And then as soon as I cross, like I didn't even get a chance to stop my watch, and I get yanked to the side, and lo and behold, there's Audra doing the yanking. So Audra, you facilitated this, so thank you.
I was going to say,
thank you.
There's a lot of magic involved behind the scenes, because at a World Championship event, meddling is one thing, but a proposal is a whole nother ball game.
And
it's so true.
on the flight home, we had people come up. Audra, I mean, you were on the same flight we were. On the flight home,
Yeah,
we had people come up and like, you guys are those. We heard about you.
it was great.
So
Yeah.
we were like internet famous for 30 seconds.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun.
It's not every day
Yeah,
that you
it
have a
was.
proposal.
It was a lot of fun. And I have like some really blurry, grainy video of it and no photos, but it is still memorable.
Did I not send you photos?
Blurry ones.
Yeah, I'm not a great photographer. I
I
can
know.
re I'm not at all.
I know that now.
It's like blur.
But you know, the other end of that is, where the wedding has been scheduled and the down
Yeah.
payment has been made. So it'll be at our other favorite location down in Florida, in August. So that'd be cool.
That's so great.
Talking about memorable moments, I think this is an opportune time. Jill's obviously had a memorable moment, and Audra, you spoke about South Africa. What would you say over the past 4 years? Is there a standout, having been with Foundation? Is there a standout memorable moment? Not necessarily a race, but something that you were involved in that really is something that you hold close to your heart and something that you're proud of?
Yeah, I would go back to our first give back and there's two of them that really stand out. I'm going to go with our first actual bike give back, and that was at 70.3 Memphis. And we worked with a local boys and girls club, and just the kids, none of these kids ever had a bike, nor did they know how to ride a bike. So we set up like a whole safety course, and we went out there with Major Taylor Cycling Club and taught these kids how to use their bike. And just being able to we gave back over 100 bikes and helmets, and just the looks on their face, and just hear, like, they were just so happy, and the parents were so appreciative. So that is definitely one of my favorable moments, and definitely very memorable. And then the other one is when we first gave back swim lessons, and that was at Ironman Tulsa. Worked with a local YMCA, and we had the kids write in, why would they learn, what does Ironman mean to them? And the stories were just, they were heart-wrenching, and just so passionate about, anything is possible. And a lot of kids alluded to that. And just being able to offer these swim lessons to the kids was really special. And my boss was there. So Shane, who's the COO of Ironman and also the president of the foundation, was there, and we were able to present a check back and a big press conference. So it was really nice. It's just seeing the look on the kids' faces. And then also when somebody has never raced before, and watching them cross the finish line, and the tears in their eyes of like, I did this. And it was, that's pretty magical too. So
Awesome.
there's so many different pieces, but they're all equally special in their own way.
So I'm so curious. You've been doing this for a while. Do you have any stories of kids who, got those bikes and then went on to actually compete in the sport?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there's one girl in particular who received a bike, practiced, got into swimming, obviously got into running. Her mom is an athlete also, and she's continued on participating in 70.3s, or racing 70.3s. So slowly but surely, like, if we can just make a difference of 1%, that's huge. And just being able to expose, children to swim, bike, run, and just the community overall, as you both know, the triathlon community is so welcoming, and it's a huge family. And, and I love to share that with others.
Yeah. Lake Placid, and we've touched on Lake Placid so many times, but it was obviously really special for you because that's where you qualified for the World Championship. But Audra, what was really special for me was seeing our our ex-pro athletes and even current pros in action. Do you want to talk about something very special that happened at Placid from a foundation standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what, Troy, honestly, I would like you to start it because it was your idea and you helped initiate
Oh,
all
do
this.
tell,
So
do tell.
yeah, so Troy, you please, you start it off and I can end it, or but
Okay.
this was your idea.
That's fair. So I was on the marketing team at Ironman at the time, and I was working closely with Audra as it was Ironman Lake Placid, and we were putting our heads together with regards to what we can do to promote foundation. And with my connection with some wonderful athletes, some wonderful pro athletes, Ben Hoffman, Heather Jackson, and Andy Potts, some of the greatest athletes the sport has ever seen. Audra and I worked closely together to put together some relay teams. Well, I think, Audra, we really wanted to knock it out the park, and it exceeded all expectations. There was so much fun had by all. There was some really some competitive rivalry, which was awesome to see. The women were phenomenal. I think they taught the men a healthy lesson. Audra managed to get Rinny involved. She got, I think, Andrea participated from Foundation and started things off with a phenomenal swim. And I think
Sika
Henry, I was going to say, the crazy part was, if you looked at the names on paper, I kind of was leaning towards how it was going to play out. But let me tell you, we were in for a surprise, and it was just the camaraderie and what we saw take place was just very, very special. But I think it had everything to do with the people that were involved.
Yeah,
it's always about the people, though.
Yeah,
it really is.
It always ends up like the people you, and it's one of the things I love about this sport in particular. And like we talked about this last week, Troy, with like the Run Disney stuff. It's like these are two sports, two forums that tend to bring together like really awesome people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of generosity in both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that from some of the ex-pro athletes and even the pro athletes today, their willingness to get involved. And Audra can touch on this more because I've highlighted a few special individuals, but I know that there's so many more. And that to me is just their contribution and giving back. That to me is just so special. And Audra, I hope we see more of that.
Yeah, no, so for 70.3 Chattanooga, so we're doing another pro relay, and it's McKeely Jones is racing with Johnny O'Brien.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he's on our board of directors, and he also is an XC athlete and lives in Chattanooga. So he's racing with McKeely, and then this hasn't been publicly announced, but I'm going to put it out there. And if I get any backlash, that's okay. Ben Hoffman is racing Cape Epic with us next year.
Wow.
So we're incredibly excited about that.
And I love that, you announced it here, unexpected new press release just happened. So that's
hot off the press.
Pretty awesome. So,
yeah.
So Audrey, you've got about 48 hours to get in front of that before this is out there.
Yeah, no. It's he's in. I'm just he's in. We were gonna do a collective announcement, but this just seemed like the perfect platform to announce it on. So yeah, so I've been talking to his wife and everything. So it will be exciting to have him. And he's racing with a Tommy Martin, Dr. Tommy, who's one of our ambassadors, who's also a huge Ironman athlete and just an incredible individual. So they're racing together as a team. So
that's fantastic.
I can't say enough good things about that incredible man, Ben Hoffman. No stranger to South Africa. Won Ironman South Africa.
Yeah.
Literally fell in love with the sport. He was like a hometown favorite. Came from the US. Phenomenal athlete, and equally as phenomenal off the course as he is on the course. And then Audra mentioned Johnny O'Brien, huge heart. Last year,
Amazing.
the man gets his entire family, the O'Briens, to race at Chattanooga, which was just absolutely fantastic. They all finished. They all had a phenomenal day. Audra, that was special.
Incredibly special. He's unbelievable, and he has an amazing family, as you know, and yeah, that was very special to see all of them cross the finish line together as a family.
So bringing us back, so Audra, there were some changes made to the benefits this year for some of these foundation races. What were the changes that were made? Because some of them are like really cool, right?
Yeah, so dedicated bike mechanic that will come. We do a like a swim corral. So
can we talk about why the dedicated bike mechanic is such a great addition for a second?
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense.
Right.
We're bringing in a lot of athletes that are raising money for the foundation, and something is always bound to happen with your bike. And instead of having that stress of where am I going to get this fixed? How am I going to get this fixed? Are they going to have the parts? We're bringing that. So we contracted with Roland Nell, who's the race director for Western Mass. And yeah, so he's our bike mechanic, and it was a huge hit in Kona last year. So I made the decision to roll it out this year. So we were just in 70.3 Texas, and it went really well. And it's just, it's been very
I'm
well
like,
received.
as an athlete, like this is such a huge stressor, right? You know, like, I'm pretty mechanically inclined. I mean, I'm an engineer by trade and education. But still, it's always nice to have a second set of eyes look over your bike. And I don't know if you remember, but when we got to Nice, we got to the hotel, dropped the bike off at the hotel. And first thing I did is I opened the box and I'm like, yep, bike's still there. It appears to still be in one piece. And then, we went out, got dinner. But then the next day, after I had it put together, before I even did a test ride on it, I took it down to the triathlon shop, which was a couple blocks away, and I spent like 120 euros for them to look at it and not do anything that I'm not myself capable of doing, but like that peace of mind of having like someone not me look at it and be like, yes, this is good to race on was invaluable to me. Because, if you're traveling in, you're taking your bike apart, you're putting it in a box, maybe you're putting it on an airplane or you're shipping it by UPS, and then you're putting it back together again. And even if you know what you're doing and have done it a million times, it's still a stressful thing because it's like one more thing in the back of your mind that could go wrong, right? Because it's now different than it was the last time you rode it. And Troy, you and I were talking a while back about, in your role with Ironman, like the things that you saw athletes do and say and not know on their bikes, even in transition on race day, right? So I don't know if you want to talk about some of those or if you want to keep that to yourself.
No, I mean, it's always enlightening. And to your point, I think for most athletes traveling, there's so many unforeseens, especially when you're traveling internationally, just in terms of being able to source extras or something that you may have forgotten. A lot of the
I've learned the
times,
hard way to carry an extra set of brake pads, an extra chain, and most importantly, an extra derailleur bracket with me.
yeah, I was going to say a lot of the time it's something trivial, and although it might not seem like a big deal, it's a huge deal. Showing up with weeks and months under the belt in terms of training and sacrifice, and then for foundation to basically take care of your needs when it comes to your bike is a huge it's a huge save because it allows you to focus on what's most important, and it just takes all the unnecessary stress out of the equation. So well done. That's a great addition.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to bring, to continue this program. So, some of the other things that we're doing is we'll either have a breakfast or a happy hour, but we're bringing in one of our volunteer groups that we've given back for multiple years, and they're going to talk about their experience with the foundation. We also will have a dedicated like swim corral area, so where all our Team IMF athletes will be stationed, and then they can self-seed themselves wherever they want. We're going to have we'll have a tent either inside transition or right outside transition. And what we'll do is while you're racing, we'll grab your morning clothes bag, your gear bags, all of that, your bike, and we'll bring that to our tent. So when you're done with your race, all you have to do is just come to one spot, grab your bike, grab your bags, and not have to worry about, anything else, because we'll have it all taken care of. And then we also have started the inspiration sign. So for a small donation, people can come to our tent, put an inspirational sign together for their loved one or their athlete that's racing, and either we can put it out on the run course, or you can take the sign. So that's also been incredibly fun.
Awesome. Well, now you know why Jill is racing with Ironman Foundation. Not only because she has a heart to give back, but also because you're going to take care of all her race needs.
Exactly.
You heard it here. I do have a heart.
Of course you do.
No, I said earlier, I did the math, and I'm like, everything aside, I'm like, financially it makes sense, and it goes to a good cause. And so far, everyone that I've met through Foundation has been like just great people. And I keep seeing Michaela Jones show up with Foundation, and I'm like,
yes.
I think, is she going to be at Texas, or is that Lake
She's going to be
Placid
in
the next one?
Chattanooga. So she's going to be at
Chattanooga.
70.3 Chattanooga. So yes, she's coming to 70.3 Chattanooga. So
Mhm.
she will be racing a relay on a relay team with one of our Johnny O'Brien, who's on the board of directors for the
Yeah.
foundation.
I'll be back at 70.3 Chattanooga this year.
There you go.
It's a redemption race for me because that's the one last year that my chain broke on.
Love
And
that race.
that bike course is so fun, and it's fast, and
Mm-hmm.
it's got some hills in it, rollers, big rollers. They're not hills. After Lake Placid and Nice, like nothing's a hill anymore.
Yeah, no, of course. Or in Nice. I mean, that was
Well, that was
no
a
joke.
mountain.
Yeah.
That was a mountain. That was a mountain.
Yeah.
But no, like I was on a PR bike, and like mile 20-ish, pop. I'm like freewheeling. And in retrospect, I'm like, wow, I was really fortunate that I didn't crash from the sudden freewheeling.
Well, she dug deep. She waited for some assistance and some support, and she got it done. And I think, Jill, what's really special, and Audra can speak about this, and so can you, what's really special about Chattanooga is the energy from the crowd. That is one special race because you feel it. It's electric.
You do. And like the bike course is really pretty. The road quality is, once you get out of the town, the road quality is pretty good. In the town, not as much. There's some railroad tracks. There were like dumpsters worth of last water bottles over those tracks, I think. I have a speed concert. They have like the triangular water bottle that fits in the frame.
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of those on the side of the course, and I was thinking in my head at the time, I'm like, how do you even lose that? Like, it's like really tightly put in there. And I saw some of those, lost on the ground. but the run, well, first, like the swim, right? The swim was a little
Downriver.
bit stressful because it's the first one that I've done where you jump off of a dock
Yes.
into the water and then get going.
Yeah.
And we had done a practice swim, me and a couple other folks, 2 days before, and we were like trying to swim upriver, just maybe a quarter mile, if that.
No.
And there's this video that John took of me and 3 other people like out in the middle of the river swimming in place.
I was going to say, were you going backwards? Because if
No,
you're trying
no,
to,
I
you
was
were
not
holding.
going backwards. We were holding our own. And you can see like closer to the shore, we were doing all right. And then as we got like maybe a third of the way towards or halfway, from shore to the middle, that's when like the current picked up and we're just like swimming in place. And one of the girls had a little bit of a momentary panic attack, and you can see her like doing fine, and then she loses all that ground.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting out of the water, downstream of where we got in the water, at a place that I guess we weren't like technically supposed to, and then we walked back to our bags. But it was good because we got to feel the current before getting into the swim. But the run, like the crowd, basically the whole run, like it was crazy. And some of those, I mean, the volunteers who staff the water tables are pretty great, right?
Yeah.
But some of those, like, they were like decorated,
Yeah.
lights, smoke machines,
Yeah. It's a
bubble
vibe.
makers. I'm like, this is pretty cool. I remember like the one at the turnaround at the far end of the out and back on the run. And that one was like, it was like you almost looked forward to it because it was like such a cool spot they had set up. And then from a spectator perspective, I think John saw me like 20 times on the course. There's not a lot of courses that are that spectator friendly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can
he's
tell
like,
you, if you enjoy Chattanooga, you're in for a treat at Ironman Texas when you run through Hippie Hollow.
oh yeah,
That is a
it's
vibe.
like I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm not looking forward to how my body is going to feel at that point. But,
No.
I'm looking forward to the race.
Yeah.
And so you'll have to give John all the tips and tricks so that
Oh,
you
I
can
will,
spectate. Because
for
like
sure.
that one in Chattanooga, he's like, yeah, I went here and then all I had to do was step over the guardrail and I could see you again going the other direction.
Pretty much. Yeah. Very, very spectator friendly. It's a fast course. It's a lot of fun. It's a sold out race. It always is. It's one of the first 70.3s to sell out. But Audra, I'm assuming you've still got some slots.
We do. We have slots. We have slots available. So all you need to do is if you go online to register, just click the link for ironmanfoundation.org and that will bring you to us and we can get you all situated.
Awesome.
Now, is there a way when they do that for them to put in like how I heard of kind of thing?
There's not.
So
No, there's not.
How are we going to know that like they found out about it from this podcast?
Well, if they're going to register now, we know they found out from this
We know.
podcast.
Okay.
We know. Yeah. We're going to give you credit anyway.
I have a feeling that it would take a lot for Audra to say, no, we can't get you in.
Yeah,
oh, no.
exactly.
Listen, where there's a will, there's a way. Audra will get you in. And I think on that note, Audra, you mentioned your website. I know that you can obviously register for foundation races on the actual race page. You'll see a category for special entries. But how do people follow along? Are you on social media?
We are on social media, but yes, so we do. It's IM_foundation. That's our Instagram, and then we're also on Facebook and we're on Instagram. And we are also on LinkedIn. So please, please follow us.
Okay. Well, if you get stuck, you can also follow along with our ambassador herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's on Instagram. If you have any questions specifically pertaining to foundation, how to become an ambassador, you can just send Jill Bartholomew a direct message.
Yeah, just send me a message. I'm at the Try Mom on Instagram, or if I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty all over those two platforms. I'm another place, and LinkedIn. My profile picture looks decidedly professional on LinkedIn, but less sporty. But yeah, feel free to message me on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, wherever, at the Try Mom. So Audra, before we say goodbye, do you have anything else about foundation that you think would be interesting for people to hear, or that you want them to understand?
Yeah, no, the other thing, first out, it's tax deductible. So, I just wanted to throw that out there. But we also, and if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. We have slots to 70.3 World Championship. We have slots to World Championship in Nice, and we have slots to the World Championship in Kona. And this year, with Kona being a women's only event, my goal is to bring 30 women. So if anybody has any questions about the World Championship events, please don't hesitate to email me directly. It's Audra Tassone -index @ironman.com, or you can just go onto our website and just request additional information. But we would love to see you at any of our events.
And for Kona, I assume there is at least a few slots left.
There are a few slots left, and there's different fundraising levels. It just depending on how many benefits you want. And it's really, we put together a really nice package for Kona.
Awesome. So now this is kind of in addition to the previously planned discussion. Since Texas is coming up, I kind of want to talk about race prep a little bit.
Sure.
So what advice would you give to athletes from what you've seen over the last 12 years of observing Ironman races? And we need to get you to do at least a 70.3, my friend. Preparation do you think they should do in foundation people you've seen, but looking at like people who have had successful races versus maybe less successful races, what do you think some key things that people should, I mean, at this point, like if we're talking about like Texas or Chattanooga, your training is pretty much locked in, right?
Right.
Chattanooga is in a month, less than a month. No amount of training is going to make a material difference for that. Texas is in a week and a half. Everybody hopefully is on taper at this point. But like race prep, what would you suggest for people that you've seen be successful?
To be successful, some of the things that I've seen is that celebrate your training. Just go out there and enjoy yourself. You've done all the hard work. Your race is about celebrating you and what you've accomplished. So that's first and foremost. The second thing, don't change up your nutrition race week or a couple of days before your race. That's a hard no. Do not do that. If it's something that you haven't trained with, don't touch it. And the other thing is don't change up your sneakers. Like going from one brand or going from a brand that you've been running and a pair of shoes that you're comfortable with to a brand new pair of shoes, even though it is the same brand. That's another thing that I would suggest. And to really also be selfish, a couple of days before your event and put your feet up. You don't have to participate in 100 million things. Go rest, eat well, and just enjoy yourself, and don't get yourself
I'm feeling
stressed out.
really attacked by the you don't need to participate in 100 million things.
No, that's not directed towards you at all. No. I say that like for Kona because we have so many things going on all the time, and the athletes, they actually feel guilty that they're not coming to, like, if we have a cocktail hour. And I said, no, you don't, would love to see you, but you don't have to be there. But definitely make time for yourself and put your feet up and relax.
I definitely struggle with that one. And this year, I think, between, so like Lake Placid, I think especially, probably Chattanooga too,
Yeah.
between Foundation, which I want to be really involved with, TriDot, who, I'm a coach on the TriDot platform, and
Yep.
I'm a TriDot pool school instructor. So I want to be involved with them. And I'm a member of the Betty Squad, right? This year I'm on the Elite
Yeah.
Squad. So, like, I obviously want to be very involved with them, and, like, between the 3, like, I could literally be doing something from before the sun's up till after the sun's down every day.
Yeah. True. Very, very true.
Yeah, it's good advice, like, pick your events wisely.
Exactly, exactly. And don't change your nutrition. Don't change it.
I think that falls into the nothing new on race day, though.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I've
So
seen it. I've seen people, athletes who, they want to try a new drink or something, but they haven't trained on it, and it's
yeah.
crushed
Well,
them.
and last year with Ironman changing from Gatorade Endurance to
Hmm.
Martin, I mean that, or not Martin, Mortal
Mortal.
Hydration,
Yeah.
that kind of threw a lot of people off too, because like
Sure.
I know for me, like it's one thing to train with it, but you're not training for 10 plus hours at a pop. And like for
Right.
me, like once I hit like that 9 or 10 hour mark, with probably about 10 hours was when it started to like really make a difference. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not used to this.
Exactly. Exactly. And then the other thing too is if you're not used to having like a lot of caffeine, not to start taking more things that have caffeine in it. I've seen that, the other extreme with that, people's heart rates are racing and just
Oh,
like simply not.
that's not where my head went. I'm like, if you take too much caffeine and you're not
Yeah,
used to it, you might be making a few more potty breaks than you were expecting.
so true.
I
So,
think,
Troy, do you have anything to add to that?
yes,
Yeah.
You've been around this world for a very long time.
yeah, I think two things that I want to chime in with. One is that foundation between um, the staff and some of the athletes, yourself included, Jill, obviously with your coaching background, there is a wealth of knowledge and experience that you can draw from, which I think is very reassuring. I think it's really helpful to have that level of support in terms of if you're a newbie or a beginner, or even if you're a seasoned athlete. You never know it all, but I think there's a wealth of information, and there's some really good people that can give you some really good advice come race
Mhm.
day and training. Audra mentioned my good friend Roland, who is the race director of 70.3 Western Mass. He just completed the Cape Epic, and he's your bike mechanic, which is super awesome. So I think as far as being well looked after in terms of your biking needs, Jill talking through race strategy, talking through important things regarding nutrition, hydration, etc. I think this is foundation as a community that you can certainly draw from expertise and knowledge. And then I think just from a coaching standpoint, I think what's super important is to keep it simple and not overcomplicated. I think so often we can really overthink things,
Mhm.
hyperanalyze, and I think that can be a huge fault of us all. And I think just keep it simple. Stick to the way you've trained your training simulations, and for the most part, I want to encourage people to ask you questions, because I think people feel embarrassed for the questions. I think a lot of the times people tend not to raise their hand if somebody talks about some jargon or some highfalutin terms that are not well known, and I think that's scary to a
Mhm.
lot of the newer athletes. And I just want to encourage people to raise their hand. I want them to ask those questions. There is no silly question, because if we're honest with ourselves, we've all been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and if we can help other people avoid those same mistakes and learn from our mistakes, that contributes to the benefit of the sport and the community as a whole.
Yeah,
right?
as they say, the only dumb question is the one not asked.
Correct.
Exactly.
Right. It's like,
Exactly.
and that's one of the things, like, I noticed, like, I haven't been in the sport as long as you guys. Um, but the athletes, in transition, like, in the athlete village, in whatever, most people are pretty friendly. Everyone, I think, is kind of in their own little world at times, but like everybody's so willing to answer questions and to give others the time. You just have to ask for it. And what might seem like a silly question might end up being the thing that changes your race.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other
But
thing too,
yeah,
oh,
go ahead.
is one thing that something that works for one person doesn't necessarily mean it will work for the other person too. So
Yeah, that's why I love the tire pressure question, right? What pressure should my tires be at? Well, first, like if you've made it to the race, you should probably know what works for you. And I might weigh less or more than you, so what works for me might not work for you.
But when in
Exactly.
doubt, ask Roland. He's got your
Right.
back.
Yeah,
He'll be
yeah.
in transition. He'll be taking care of your tires. So
Right.
so ask Noland. He's knowledgeable. Rather ask than go in overinflated or underinflated. So Jill, to your point, raise your hand, ask the question. If you're not sure, ask. And then I think my one thing I would like to add, Jill, and you've touched on this, is the importance of supporting others. A high five,
Mhm.
an inspirational sign, meeting somebody in a moment on the course, in their time of difficulty or struggle. Jill, I think we can all relate, some words of wisdom, a little bit of
Mhm.
encouragement, even if you yourself are struggling, can make the world of difference in somebody else's life. Don't wait for race day to be kind and to be loving and nice towards somebody, other than yourself. I think it's really important, as we try and build this community, to build it up, to encourage everybody, to encourage one another. Yes, on race day, some people are super competitive, but for other people, it's just showing up at race day, and that in and of itself is a massive victory. And I think we need to remember that, and that needs to be top of mind with regards to the fact that everybody who shows up at a race has a story. It may be very different to yours, but we need to celebrate that. We need to embrace that, and we need to make sure that we are hospitable towards others, and we're caring, because at the end of the day, you don't know who's showing up and what they've
Mhm.
overcome to get there. And at the end of the day, our goals might be slightly different, but everybody crossing that finish line, that's the ultimate goal. So I want you to remember that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's such great advice because you everybody's got their own goals, and you don't necessarily, we don't print on the back of our shirt what our goal is, right? A lot of people's goals might be just to finish and under the cutoff. Other people might be shooting for a podium, and you can normally tell the folks who are shooting for the podium, right? But there's everywhere in between. And we don't like screen print it to the back of our shirts, so you don't know what those are. I will say, I was on a race, um, and it was Lake Placid. I'll admit to that. And the Three Bears
Mm-hmm.
on Lake Placid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was on the second go round. Um, I had I had to stop about 20 miles from the finish, 25 miles. My left cleat was like moving all over the place. I actually had to tighten it on the course. So I lost some time with that. And, I was cranking up that hill, and I remember what my power output was. It was pretty high, higher than it should have been given where we were in the race. And I was not feeling awesome. And this guy who he and I had been like yo-yoing for quite a while, he passed me for what ended up not being the last time. And, he saw that I was kind of like fatigued, and he's like, "I don't know how you're hanging with me. You're so strong." and that like, it's like those kinds of things out on
Mhm.
the course, like encouraging each other that, helps, get everyone's motivations back to where they need to be. 'Cause these are not trivial races. They're long races. It's called Ironman for a reason. It's
Yeah.
hard and it's meant to be hard. And not everyone can do it, but that doesn't mean we can't support each other along the way.
Exactly. Agree. Agree.
So, on that note, I think we're about to wrap up, but I want to put a plug in for a couple things. One is Ironman Foundation. If you're interested in racing with Foundation, or if you want to get into a race that is sold out, contact Audra. Or I'm an Ironman Foundation. Feel free to contact me. Probably the best way is to message me on Instagram at the TryMom. Also, we're going to be putting together a little YouTube series on some basic bike maintenance, which is hopefully useful to at least one person other than me. So, keep an eye out for that. And, Troy, what made me think about this, I've been wanting to do it for like a year, and I'm sitting here like, for Texas, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm putting a new chain on, and which means I need to wax my chain. So the first video is probably going to be about chain waxing.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
So on that note, thank you everyone for listening. Please like it, subscribe to it on whatever platform you're listening on. We do have the video version of it posted on YouTube. So subscribe there, or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever. Please subscribe.
Awesome. Thank you, Jill. Thank you for joining us, Audra.
Yeah, thank you for having me.